You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Interesting story that we'll update. We always tell you as a story develops, we'll keep you up to date. And this is one of those instances. A Louisiana District Judge Ronald Johnson dismissed claims made by former LSU coach Les Miles. They dismissed his lawsuit against LSU, the NCAA, and the National Football Foundation over the decision made to vacate 37 wins from his time at LSU. The lawsuit was filed about a year ago, and well, I shouldn't say it wasn't a full year. It was September, so I guess 6 months ago, about half a year ago. And if you don't recall how all this went down, basically with the LSU football investigation from the Vidal Alexander stuff, where his dad was paid for a no-show job, part of the punishment is that LSU accepted vacation of wins from that time, 37 wins. So LSU vacated 37 wins. It's the general, slap on the wrist that LSU got from that whole years-long saga. The NCAA accepted the bowl ban in 2020, and I think they lost a scholarship or two for a couple of years, something they vacated 37 wins. It was a relative slap on the wrist. Well, vacating those wins reduced Les Miles's record to 108-73, putting him at a 597 winning percentage. The minimum requirement for the College Football Hall of Fame is you have to win 60% of your games. So he's a tick below that number with these vacation of wins. On the field, more than qualifies. And I know some of you are going to roll your eyes and say that, and I'm going to stop that conversation dead in its tracks. Les Miles is a Hall of Fame college football coach on the field. He won a national championship. He played for another. He won 2 SEC titles, played for a third. On the field, he won over 60% of his games. He was, in a dozen years at LSU, staring at the greatest coach any of us have ever seen, won at a clip few others did in that era in the same division as Nick Saban. Yes, Les Miles on field is a Hall of Fame coach. Take all of the idiosyncrasies and all the other stuff and put it aside. You can say what you want. But his resume, he is a Hall of Fame coach. And we know what happened with Les. Got fired at LSU a month into 2016. He resurfaces at Kansas, where he was hired by Jeff Long. And then March of 2021, LSU released a report that found that, as the report said, Les had acted inappropriately with student workers during his tenure. 3 days after that, he was fired at Kansas. So he was fired at Kansas for what allegedly came out during his time at LSU. And then later, for something completely unrelated, he had wins vacated. That was the nature and the focus of this lawsuit. And I'm oversimplifying it, but Les's attorneys basically said Les never got to have his day in court. LSU accepted these penalties, and Les never got to tell a side of the story, and so now he's not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm going to reiterate, because I don't think any of you will remember what I said about this in September, and my feeling on this hasn't changed. I think Les Miles is fighting in the wrong courtroom. Les Miles shouldn't be fighting in a literal courtroom with attorneys and legalities. Les Miles should be crafting a public opinion campaign and fighting this in the court of public opinion. In the same way that for more than a decade, almost 2 decades actually, Reggie Bush did to get his Heisman Trophy back. Because when I tell you the nature of what cost Les Miles these wins and ultimately his opportunity to be a College Football Hall of Famer in the context of NIL and the transfer portal, it's laughable. Vidal Alexander's dad got paid $180K for a no-show job. Yo, there's a backup quarterback on LSU's team right now making more than double that this season. I mean, we can all of us, I don't care what you think, I don't care who your favorite team is, who you cheer for, what you think about Les Miles. Like put that on a shelf for a second and think about the absurdity of what I just said. That some kid's dad got paid for a no-show job, and so a worthy coach is not going to be eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame because a booster was funneling money to a player's parent for a no-show job. That's stupid. Just like it was stupid for Reggie Bush to be stripped of his Heisman Trophy when we all saw him play and he was outstanding. And because his parents were put up in a really nice home in San Diego or whatever it was, don't care. And neither should you. And you can tell me anything you want about the rules at the time or whatever. That's like, man, you put someone in jail for 20 years because they sold marijuana. Like half the states in this country, it's legal now. What are we doing? Like punishment fit the crime sort of thing. Like we can all acknowledge there are common sense realities that need to come forward. But Les Miles filing a lawsuit and trying to take this make this a legal matter, I think only casts more negativity upon him in the public light. If instead Les had a PR firm that was helping generate goodwill around him and the nature, because Les was a beloved character in college football, wasn't he? I mean, he was the hat, the Mad Hatter, the iconic white hat and the purple pullover and, eating the grass on the sideline and the weird syntax and everything. I mean, he was one of college football's, at that time, great characters. And he won a lot and should be in the College Football Hall of Fame. But you're not going to win any favor by trying to sue LSU and the NCAA and the NFF. Like, you should be trying to rally people to your cause to get a groundswell of support to say, hold on, you gonna tell me this guy is ineligible for the Hall of Fame because some kid's dad got paid for a no-show job 15 years ago and now backups are making hundreds of thousands of dollars? What are we talking about? There is an absurdity associated with that. And Les Miles should be in the College Football Hall of Fame. I think he's just going about it the wrong way. So Miles' attorney said they're going to pursue an appeal, see what happens with it. I hope Les gets in the College Football Hall of Fame. I do. All the stuff that he was alleged, the inappropriate relationship with the student work, I have no idea. I mean, I read all the same stuff you did. He disputes it. It's very much a he said, she said. There's a total lack of evidence. None of this would ever stand up in a court of law. Whatever. I don't mean to be dismissive of somebody's claims of alleged abuse. I just have no way of knowing, and neither do you or any of us. But I also think none of that should have any bearing whatsoever on whether or not the guy gets into the College Football Hall of Fame. And he has a very worthy resume as a coach to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I hope there's a sensibility that goes along with this. And by the way, something else that Miles' attorney said is that 15% of the inductees have received exceptions in the past. So it's not unprecedented to grant him an exception. It's actually relatively commonplace if it's happened to 15% of the inductees. It's more than 1 out of 10. More than 1 out of 10 have been granted an exception. So there's precedent for it. He's worthy. Yeah, he needs to go in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I know that's all he wants in this situation. Les doesn't need money or anything like that. He's protecting his legacy. As a guy that gave his life to football, he's worthy, and that's what he's looking out for. And I hope he gets it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.